All right, guys, can you see the slide?
Yep.
Everyone? Okay, we'll start the meeting now. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Ward 3 meeting. I am very honored that I'm joined by my fellow Ward 3 leaders here, the prison captains, who will talk to you and do a report as well. I just want to inform everyone that this is a quick report. We can only give you the highlight of each report. Most of the detailed information are featured in our newsletter. If you're not subscribing to the newsletter, you need to sign up. Let me know. Just go to 𝐂𝐨𝐦𝐦𝐿𝐿.com, or if you are on social media, we always post detailed information there. So any links or information, I screenshot our slide, the last slide, because it shows there. We're honored that our mayor will be our guest speaker tonight. He is so looking forward for this meeting, and I had conversation with him today in preparation for this meeting. Very quick, the meeting will start at 7:30. My team will give a brief report, but at exactly 7:50, the mayor will jump in and join the conversation. I request everybody, if you have questions or clarifications, to ask it after the presentation. It would be systematic, because at exactly 8:30, I always do this. I end the meeting on time. I respect your time. I respect everyone's time. By 8:30, we will end the Zoom call. So clear? Are we clear? All right. For Ward 3 updates, we have 32 phone calls, 52 emails, 16 Facebook messages, and 8 in-person visits since the last neighborhood meeting we had. Since the last neighborhood meeting, we resolved 19 projects and 34 to be determined, or 34 follow-up. So more projects to do and more issues needs to be fixed. Our CAB update, Sandy Anschowitz just emailed me. Her daughter is coming home from DC, so she said there's no update for the CAB, but they're just waiting for the mayor's approval for the projects to be funded. So if you're not familiar with CAB is the Citizens Advisory Board. Each ward has one representative, and Sandy Anschowitz is our representative. Their job is just to support different organizations and neighborhoods to apply for whatever grants there is that the city could support. For our some ward issues, the 19 projects I mentioned, I would like to request Bonnie Carr, Ward 3, Precinct Captain, Precinct 4. Bonnie, take it away.
Sure, thank you. So there have been a few issues within the ward that have been resolved, and there have been problems with certain stoplights, crossing lights, nonstop trash dumping, which we've all seen a lot of, sinkholes. Some of tree roots have been addressed. There have been many potholes that have been filled. There has been a number of noise complaints that have been addressed, as well as a few issues with some rat problems, and those have all been addressed as well. Burglary seems to be somewhat of an issue, a little bit on the rise, but has been kind of pushed down as of late. Overspeeding in some of our neighborhoods, and questions about trash. So aside from that, those are 19 major issues that the council has been able to resolve and continues to work on.
And updates for Brickett community, Bonnie.
Okay, so the Brickett Community School had their end of the year meeting, and one of the things that was a great point of reference was a survey that the administration from Brickett had put out to the community, to the Brickett community. It was a survey that went out in multiple languages, because they have so many people from different places speaking different languages. So that way it was an opportunity for the caregivers in the community of Brickett to be able to understand and answer the survey. the results of the survey was very positive, and that was more or less about the communication. Did the caregivers think there was appropriate communication? Do they feel like their child is a part of the community? And it was very positive as far as how the communication and how the caregivers feel about their children at Brickett. One of the things that the caregivers did bring up was that they themselves would like to be able to have kind of like parent groups where if their child is in the same class as another child, they would like the opportunity to try to meet some caregivers in some of the other classes. So that's something I believe that Brickett will be working on, maybe with their PTO. There was a parent that attended the meeting, so they're aware. And it was great information. They also talked about they would like to have game nights with their children at Brickett. So this is something that the Brickett administration is working hard to address.
Thank
And
you.
the results were positive.
Thank you, Bonnie. I also attended the Aborn Brickett Community School Improvement, and it's really a breath of fresh air knowing that our city community, like Bonnie and I and us, are very actively involved with our school system that is located in our ward. They reported a lot of activities in the community, and they continue having that community partnership, and that's why both schools are very excited of that relationship. Thank you, Bonnie. Okay, hold on.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Oh, it's our precinct captain for precinct 1, Sue Walker, will give you updates about our parks. Sue, take it away.
Okay, so thanks, Coco. So we have some updates on the parks. Kylie Park, the work will start in June, and every Sunday there's a cleanup from 5 to 6 p.m. headed by Precinct Captain Lisa Prack, who's not here right now, but she does so much. There's also Planting Day at Goldfish Pond on Saturday at 9 a.m. Children's garden planting will also be done June 8th at 10 a.m. And any questions, go to Precinct Captain Sandy Cornell, because she handles most of Goldfish Pond. Clark Park, we will also have a cleanup on Saturday at 9 a.m. And everyone is welcome. Someone stole 6 large flower pots from the memorial at the park, which they still have not been found. So if anyone has any information, they should let us know. Also, the baseball field is being used as the Eastland Little League second venue because they have some overflow from a couple of the other parks. And with the money that Clark was given, we're able to buy a $12,500 seesaw. And that's pretty much it for now, but we expect more money to come in next year. So next year there'll be, more improvements, and they're also going to add mulch. So, there's that. And the Williams Ave Park, there's no activity for now.
Thank you so much, Sue.
You're welcome.
The next update, Michelle, you asked for this. We had a neighborhood meeting with the Porter Street, the old Marshall School. You see, it's also a virtual meeting. There's a screenshot there. There was a lot of conversation about the project, a lot of excitement for the project. The reason why we had this special neighborhood meeting because of 2 changes, and I made this very, very clear with 2 Life, the developer, that if you make some changes with what you told the neighborhood, is that you need to bring it back to the neighborhood for information. That's the rule. And so the 2 changes is it's the first change is from the original 101 parking, they need to remove 0.25 parking ratio because they need to save the trees. If you notice in the map, there are trees on the upper left. They need to save those, or else they will have to cut the trees. And number 2, the second reason is they need to be very friendly with a couple of the neighborhood abutters because that parking lot is attached directly to 2 homes' backyard. So with this change, it would not attach to those 2 neighbors, and we will save century-old trees. And there was a unanimous decision from the group. They were happy with that decision, and the council just approved this new change. That's it. It was a very quick meeting because of the request of having it approved by the neighborhood and the council. For city council updates, you've noticed if you follow me on Facebook, there's a lot of updates about council, but I don't also give updates about what we talked about in the council. I also share personal information about fellow city councilors. You've noticed in the upper right photo, two new councilors, Meji Madri and Matul, came to my house together with Ward 6 Councilor Hogan, because this week is budget week, and these two new councilors, they're just their new first time reviewing a city budget. So Hogan and I kind of mentored them on how to review and if they have questions. So it's a good relationship between us and fellow councilors. And we also have another neighborhood meetings because, like what I mentioned before, Ward 3 borders Ward 4 and 2. So there's a meeting with Ward 2 neighborhood. So I also attended this there as representative of our ward. And again, this year we are also talking about charter change a lot. That's a good development because we've been talking about this for years. I'm not part of the committee. I just want you to know they're developing members of that committee, so I'm not part of it. But the fact that the fact that we are now even talking about it, it's a good development for our city. Kings Beach update, Bonnie, can you talk more about the commissioners and then I can continue the rest? Thank you, Bonnie. And the mayor will talk more about this later as well.
Okay, so currently, 4 out of 5 of the commissioners for the Kings Beach for the I'm so sorry.
Water,
so
yeah.
4 out of 5, yeah, are vested in Kings Beach cleanup. And the new chair of the committee is Mike Solona. He's the also the VP of the Friends of Lynn and Nahant Beach, who has had a lot of history with this issue. So it's great that he is now a part of the commission. And another new commissioner is Robin Grace. So for those two commissioners, they are vested in the pushing forward of the cleaning of Kings Beach and making it obviously more usable and accessible for all of us in the community.
Thank you, Bonnie. Like Bonnie said, 4 of us have vested interest with Kings Beach. This is one of the main reasons why we're there, is to really help the Kings Beach, but we also assist and help with decision making for Lynn Water in general. I just want to clarify before I continue that there is a Kings Beach steering committee, and the mayor of Lynn is the one that represents the city. So I'm not part of that steering committee, but he updates me all the time. And the slides that you are seeing now, because even though I'm not a member of the steering committee, I still attend a lot of forums, discussions. Like this week, I went to Swampscott for this new advanced oxidation process demonstration. I was just there to observe. There'll be more information about that soon. And there's also a forum at the UU Church in Swampscott. So again, this issue is not only Lynn problem, but also Swampscott. And it's nice to have representation there and represented you in all of these functions. Brickett Lewis neighborhood update. Shauna, can you please give us some updates? Shauna, take
Yes, happy to. Hi, everybody. Yep, so we applied for a grant from the Mass Cultural Council. We were awarded the full grant to start our planting project. We've got half of the land area that's available, that's not covered in concrete, is now a pollinator garden, a young pollinator garden. So we're continuing to tend that. And I actually just submitted for a grant for from Lynn Spire. So we'll find out soon if we get those funds. We will be adding hanging baskets to the outside. We can't plant food on that soil because it's the foundation of an old building, but we can hang strawberry baskets outside along the fence line. And we're hoping to continue to expand the project, continue to work with the city to repair the fence in the back, and eventually have that space be a space that can be used by the community after hours and during the summer.
Shauna, you know, you are just the best. I had so much fun time last Saturday, and it's really nice to see the smiles of the neighbors. Like they were really like reclaiming the area and being actively part of it. And
The kids.
it's just beautiful to observe. I just
The
want
kids were the best. The kids were like, what else can we do? What else can we do? They were so excited to get their hands dirty. Yeah.
and I just want to say
Yeah.
thank you for your
Kudos to you.
leadership.
You did bring the neighborhood together.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shauna.
Thanks for being there.
We're in this together. Yeah, you're right. Business updates in Ward 3. John Hogan, Precinct Captain, Precinct 2.
Yeah, we had our Shoreline Pizza and Grill reopened after a fire after they changed hands. I've been in this, really good. We had the Giovanni's is now under new ownership. So if you want to try them out, and also show of hands, Ale Sparrows has new owners. So if you want to try something new, check out these new businesses. That's all.
Thank you, John. I know because Peter and I are regulars to this Show of Hands salon, and you might be surprised. The couple is not there anymore. It's different people, but the service, the price, they're the same. So just want you to know. Thank you, John. Again,
Okay.
If you can screenshot this, these are our contact information, our Facebook website, our email addresses of the precinct captains. If you are comfortable reaching out to Sue because you live near precinct, then Sue, you can email Sue, and because we regularly communicate, the team, we regularly communicate and discuss issues in our ward. All right. Did somebody just approve Jared? This is perfect timing. He just came in. And before I introduce the mayor, I just want you to know that the trash and recycling will be delayed by 1 day next week due to Memorial Day. And also by July 7th, I am going to ignore the date there. I posted the wrong poster. But July 7th, I'm going back to the Philippines for a brief vacation. So call any of the 4 at-large councilors or are the precinct captains for any follow-up projects. Okay? Just FYI. And let me close this and then. All right, without further ado, I would like to introduce our mayor, a fellow Ward 3 resident. And we already discussed prior to this because he has a lot of things to cover, but because of time, he has to be focused with certain things. Mayor, welcome. Take it away.
Thank you so much for having me, Counselor. It is great to see you all. Really appreciate this opportunity to share some updates. I think the goal for tonight was to give some general overview on several initiatives that the city is making progress on, and then to hopefully leave time for questions. So the place I want to start is just the overall vision that we are working towards, centered around inclusive growth. So finding opportunities for positive growth that helps us solve issues that we have rather than create them, and doing so in a way that is inclusive and that it benefits everybody, the residents who are here now, the community that built this opportunity. And I think we've made a lot of progress on that front, with plenty of work to do, and none of that would be possible without the deep and meaningful collaboration that we have with the council. And I want to particularly thank my ward councilor and neighbor and friend, Councilor 𝐂𝐨𝐦𝐦𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐿 but him and his colleagues have been great partners in all this work, and it's really beneficial for the city for us to be in that pattern, and I greatly appreciate it, as well as our other colleagues in government and counterparts in business and community organizations. It's really a team effort, ultimately driven by residents who are looking for the kind of positive change that we need. So, some examples of that in education, which I think is the foundation of a lot of what we do in public service to prepare the next generation. I think one bright spot and an issue that we care a lot about is creating more access to early education, to pre-K. Lynn is a young city, and that creates a lot of opportunity to educate the next generation. But we don't have the level of access to pre-K seats that we should. We lag the state in terms of the number of students that are enrolled in pre-K. The official statistics are 1 in 4. 4 and 5-year-olds are enrolled in a pre-K, and statewide that's over 60%. And so we've been working really hard to try to add seats. Last year we added 90 in the Lynn Public Schools, and this year working with a grant from the Commonwealth Preschool Partnership Initiative, Lynn Public Schools, and some of our community partners, we're adding another 250 seats, which we're really excited about. The sort of signature initiative that the city has right now in education is to address overcrowding in our classrooms, and as well as the outdated spaces that we have. And the marquee project there is the new Pickering Middle School, which would double the size of the Pickering Middle School. And so not just help our Pickering community by getting them the facilities they deserve, but really the whole city by helping address overcrowding in the other middle schools. And that project is scheduled to break ground in the coming weeks, which we're thrilled about. It's been a long time coming, and it's a huge initiative. Another top concern for a lot of our residents, and therefore for us, is around housing and the cost of housing, and how hard it is to continue to afford to live here. And we are doing everything we can to address that. One way we've done that, working with the council, created an affordable housing trust fund. The city didn't have that before, but that allows the city to directly make investments in projects to create affordable housing. And I think a great example of that, we have 30 units that are being built by a group called the Preservation of Affordable Housing through a grant that we made with the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. We seeded that with American Rescue Plan Act funds and created that our first year in office. And one of the goals this year is to continue to make strides in supporting tenants who are facing challenging environments. Through American Rescue Plan Act funds, we funded an eviction prevention project working with Northeast Legal Aid, and this year are hoping to tackle some of the ways that policies play out around harassment of tenants and anti-harassment. The ways in which housing relates to the economy, I think for folks are clear. If you are able to get into better paying jobs, you have a better opportunity to hold on to your housing or to get that foothold in the economy through home ownership. And so workforce development has been another big focus of us, and getting our residents into good paying jobs. I think a really exciting project we have starting this summer as an example of that is a English language class that the Lynn Public Schools is running with Pathways, the adult education provider in town, for 15 students, 3 nights a week for 35 weeks, including dinner, and located at community schools that exist at Ford and Washington. And that's funded by American Rescue Plan Act funds. So it's really a collaboration across a host of different stakeholders that care about our young people and their workforce opportunities. Another example there is we see great potential to try to connect Lynn to the broader innovation economy. We happen to be in a region that is, some would say, the innovation capital of the world for industries like life sciences and high tech, clean energy. And we know how to make things here in Lynn, and we have industrial space available. And so we've been really working to try to connect those companies with the opportunities here in the city of Lynn for investment, but also for workforce opportunities to hire our folks. And just an example of that, several weeks ago, we visited Greentown Labs in Somerville and talked to a lot of those companies, and really pitched Lynn as a place to invest and are hoping to continue to push Lynn in those conversations. I think when we think about our hopes for the future, it all depends on our ability to keep one another safe and to achieve peace in our community. And so that is certainly a real area of focus for us as well. We have been working hard to put together a unarmed crisis response team over the last couple of years, and have made great strides, I think, in preparing to launch that team focused on mental health issues with really a racial justice lens. The city continues to be plagued by the opioid crisis. And while last year, thankfully, the number of overdose deaths has decreased for the first time in a long time, and that is a sign of really important progress, that there are still dozens of lives lost and some really concerning trends in terms of drugs that are sort of becoming more prominent on the street. And we have a working group set up, an opioid working group that's helping us not only manage the disbursement of some of the settlement funds that the city has received from these global settlements with some of the pharmaceutical companies responsible for the crisis, but also sort of directing the overall approach there. And an example of progress is that the city has been able to establish some locations to distribute free Narcan for folks that is the antidote for an overdose for someone suffering from an overdose. And where we will continue to look to tackle that issue to keep our residents alive. We also recognize that last year was particularly difficult with respect to community violence. And while we are thinking a lot about that as we head into the summer as well, and that's a time when historically young people have been more sort of at risk to engage in that kind of activity. And so we've really taken a community-focused approach to that. One of the things we did last year, Councilor Alencong and I, as well as a host of city leaders, including the chief of police, our public health department, actually went out to Essex Street and the surrounding neighborhood and canvassed door to door in a neighborhood that was severely impacted by violence, to let folks know that we were there, that we were listening, that we cared, and also to share resources for issues like food and energy assistance, but also in how to contact the police and how to engage with the police department, so people felt safe and comfortable doing that. So we'll continue to take that kind of community-focused approach, multi-pronged approach, working with law enforcement, youth-serving organizations to tackle this issue. We will be publicizing soon another community-focused event on that in June, focused on young people, really, and a facilitated conversation with a statewide group called the Massachusetts Coalition to Prevent Gun Violence. We also have been fortunate to be in a moment where we have the ability to make infrastructure investments, and the city has been starved for infrastructure for decades, like a lot of cities around the country, and we are looking to take full advantage of that moment by making some sorely needed investments in the city's infrastructure, and doing so in a way that maximizes this opportunity of public investment and hopefully invites private investment as well. A great example of that, a project I'm really excited about, is the extension of Blossom Street. So Blossom Street right now ends at the Linway, and you can't drive across it. And if you're driving up the Linway from Revere, you can't take a left into the downtown. And this project will create a full-blown intersection there with signals and crosswalks, and allow folks from the downtown to drive straight across the Linway to the waterfront, to the ferry terminal, which has ferry service again this summer, which we're very excited about, and is part of that overall vision to try to stitch back together downtown with the waterfront to open up access to the waterfront and also to encourage investment in a neighborhood that is 10 miles away from the capital city of New England on the Atlantic Ocean that could be a lot more than it is. We also are really focused on trying to once and for all address the issues that are plaguing Kings Beach and the pollution there. We have really pushed all our partners to move forward as aggressively as possible on illicit discharge detection and elimination, so fixing the pipes. I have Water and Sewer, Lynn Water and Sewer Commission is a independent agency of the city, but I do have appointments to that commission, and I have appointed Robin Grace and Michael Solona, who I know many of you know. And we also are fortunate to be represented as residents by one of the council's appointments to the Lynn Water and Sewer Commission and Councilor Alan Sugg. And I think him and his colleagues have really set some great vision there for what can happen, and seeing a lot of the folks at Lynn Water and Sewer really pushing hard to get this fixed. Thanks to American Rescue Plan Act funds that our state delegation led by Brendan Crichton was able to secure, the Lynn Water and Sewer Commission has been conducting a closed circuit television scan of all the catchment area of the drainage pipes for Stacey's Brook and Kings Beach, and that will wrap up in the next couple of weeks, actually, that initial scan. And you probably know that this is a combination of a issue with the outfall from Lynn Water and Sewer, as well as the town of Swampscott. And Swampscott, their sewer system is part of the town. And so we also have been working closely to coordinate with Swampscott to make sure that we're making progress on both of those fronts. And so they are also working on illicit discharge and detection elimination. The challenge there is that, based on our conversations, not just with Water and Sewer and Swampscott and the respective engineers that both of those entities have contracted with, but also the environmental regulators, so Department of Environmental Protection from the state, the Environmental Protection Agency from the federal government. Because of the dense neighborhoods that run off into Stacey's Brook, even when the pipes are totally fixed, there's strong likelihood that we're still dealing with pollution issues that make the beach unswimmable because of everything else that gets down into the storm drains, the fertilizer for people's lawn, dog waste, trash from the streets. And so as we are working on the illicit discharge detection and elimination, we are also looking to try to evaluate complementary solutions that would allow the beach to be swimmable an acceptable amount of the time. So you might have seen that the group is looking at the ozone technology. That was a demonstration that was done yesterday, as well as ultraviolet treatment, peracetic acid, which was an idea that was sampled this spring. We've already seen the results come back there that probably isn't going to work in this scenario. And so we're going to continue to do those kind of samples and tests to home in on a complementary solution that'll make this beach swimmable while we do the long-term and needed, but potentially by itself insufficient work around the illicit discharge detection and elimination. Another great set of infrastructure projects that I wanted to highlight was upgrades of the city's park system. And that's happening in a few different ways. We have the new signature waterfront park in the Harbor Park that's opening next spring on the Linway, 30 acres on the former landfill site. That's going to be capped like the Harbor Island, Spectacle Island. But what I wanted to highlight was the significant overall of 6 parks around the city that we're doing with American Rescue Plan Act funds, working with the council, because one of those 6 parks is 𝐂𝐨𝐦𝐦𝐿𝐴 Park in Ward 3. And we're very excited about that. That is, you might have seen that they've been kind of taping off and measuring and out there on the site. The work will start in earnest on June 10th, hopefully, depending on when they've received their final permits, and that'll be about maybe a 6-month project or so. So by next spring, the hope is that that will be ready for us to enjoy. We also are thinking about our digital infrastructure. This was a goal of our administration when we first started, is to say, if City Hall is our physical presence in the community, the website is our digital presence, and it needed an upgrade. And so we've overhauled the city's website and also launched a new mobile application called Click Fix that allows residents to take a picture of an issue that they're having and report it directly on the app, and then monitor the progress of its resolution. So I would encourage you to take a look at that. And then finally, because it is budget season and really important consideration year-round in terms of the city's fiscal status, would just note that we have made tremendous progress as a community from where we were, back in 2015, where we were really on the brink of receivership or fiscal failure, to having paid off the deficit bonds that the state allowed us to issue in order to balance the budget last year. And we continue to take that fiscally responsible approach to slowly and responsibly work our way out of that. However, we continue to have those challenges, and there's a lot in the city budget that is occurring every year and increasing that is beyond our control. Like a lot of organizations, the cost of health insurance or the cost of the pension obligations. In our case, sometimes the cost of energy, the cost of solid waste, and with the limits that the city has on increasing revenue, it can be a challenge, and we face these structural deficits that we're still trying to work our way out of. In the long run, there's a lot of limits on ways in which the city obtains revenue, but the area in which we have the most control is new growth. And so that is another reason why we think a lot about how to maximize those opportunities for growth. And it has to be the right kind of growth. We want to make sure that it's benefiting our community, and importantly, including our community. And that's where that focus on inclusive growth comes. But that's something that we continue to prioritize and talk about. And to get it the right way, we really think about how do we make these infrastructure investments that make Lynn a great place for people to want to be and invest in. How do we plan so that we can communicate to the world what it is that we'd like to see, the community would like to see, and invite folks to come and try to build that. So we have certainly seen some great momentum there, and look forward to continuing that, and as well as other initiatives. Wanted to try to give you a snapshot of everything that's going on, but look forward to your questions.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Let's open this for Q&A. Mayor, if you can also read the conversation in the chat box. There are a couple or a few questions there. If you want, I'll be moderating. You can click the hand raise button, or you can physically raise your hand so I could call you for questions.
So I can start, Councilor, in the chat if you like.
Oh, sorry, Mayor, go ahead.
No, whatever you
Susan Brown, what is your question, Susan?
These are all exciting and hopeful, and I'm also wondering about the new fellowship, forest fellowship money that came with the idea of a tree specialist fellowship for 3 years, funded to survey and look at our greenery, our tree canopy, and where more is needed, what it exists. So I just wondered if that's where that process is.
Yeah, it's a great question. We were thrilled to receive that grant. It's going to be amazing to have that kind of capabilities in-house. The tree canopy is so important to the community's health for all the reasons that I know you're aware of, and the shade and the air and the general quality of life. We have, I believe, identified the person. So there was a position description after we got the grant. There was a position description written, posted, committee formed, applicants reviewed and interviewed, and I believe that we have identified the person. And I don't know their exact start date yet, but that is very much in process.
Great.
Thank you, Susan. Jean Marie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You mentioned the new website, and I wanted to ask, what sort of feedback have you received, and what sort of were there any focus groups to create, to get feedback to create the website?
Yeah, so there was a committee in place that worked on its implementation. The feedback, a lot of folks have commented that they have experienced a significant improvement from where the website had been. We had gotten a question about some of the accessibility features, because websites can be difficult to navigate for folks with certain disabilities. And so we are currently working with a vendor on improving some facets of the accessibility. And one of the other things that is a continual, I think, area of improvement is around the chat feature. There's a chat feature that is like answers folks' questions and directs their input essentially. And so that allows us to get ongoing feedback, because when you see a lot of folks asking the same question, I think it alerts people that information is not easily accessible. So those are a couple of the areas that is unfolding in.
Mayor, you have
If
questions?
I could-
Go ahead. Who was it? Oh, the Maitlands. Jerry, Shandy, go ahead. Take it away. You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Okay,
Can
go
you hear
ahead.
me?
Now we can hear you.
Yeah, my name's Jerry Karen, 142 Ocean Street with my wife Sandra. Dunkus and Dunkel Maitland, they live on Lynn Shore Drive.
They're having a
across
party
from
there.
Cage. Pardon?
No, I'm
Across
just
from
kidding
Cage
there.
Beach. I didn't hear what they said. We've been talking about various solutions for, it seems like about 3 years now, but I keep coming back to the same thing. The only solution, I'm offering a solution to the problem that would be obvious once I state the solution. The only solution to my mind is all sewage has to be pumped to the sewage plant. And we have a de facto regional system now, but make it formal and have Lynn, Swampscott, Nahat, and Saugus get together and form a consortium led by somebody who can get the work done. To me, it's simple. Just find out what needs to be done to get all the sewage pumped to the sewage plant, and obtain the financing, and then get somebody to do it. I know it probably would be costly, but it's a long-term solution. It should last like 100 years, a good sewage system. Amortized over 100 years, it's doable. Yeah, the rate may go up a little bit, but I think that this is a basic form of infrastructure that is essential, completely essential. And I think one other thing is, on the bill, the invoice for water and sewer, there should be a third item on there for drainage work, which kind of hogs into the sewerage work cost on the bill. And I think the drainage work belongs in Public Works. The drainage cost, which would free up a lot more money to pump the sewage to the treatment plant. I think that it's something that we'd be better off to have. We're actually suffering by not doing this work, and we're actually our quality of life is lower, and we're actually probably, I wouldn't be surprised if we're spending more money trying to get around not having a proper storage system. So I keep saying the same thing.
Jerry, we'll let the mayor answer because there's also 2 or 3 other Kings Beach related questions here.
Does anyone else have? Does anyone? No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you, Jared. I really appreciate that. So as you probably know, we do have a sewer treatment plant and a sewer system that directs the sewage to the sewer treatment plant that treats the sewage before the water is then released. The Lynn Water and Sewer Commission separated the sewer and storm system, a few decades ago, which is relatively recent, and as far as these things go. So the issue is actually not the flow of there is sewage going to the sewer treatment plant. It's the sewage that is getting into the storm runoff. That's the issue. And we actually did look at the idea of sending storm runoff to the treatment plant, and the Department of Environmental Protection and the Environmental Protection Agency, the federal EPA and the state DEP, do not allow that as a approach, and that's why the Water and Sewer Commission separated the sewage and the storm runoff decades ago. That's what's happening now in the big sewer project in Westland. So that was evaluated, but it doesn't appear to be an option. In Swampscott, the issue is that their system was built separated, but it's significantly older, and a lot of the pipes are old clay pipes, and there's leakage from the sewer system into the storm system because the pipes run relatively close together. And so that's work that they're doing on there. And on the other questions, how often is steering committee meeting? Now that beach season is starting, are Swampscott and Lynn working towards the same complementary solution goals? The committee met this week, most recently, and it's roughly on a bi-monthly basis, I guess, close to quarterly, as a full group. But meetings and conversations are happening on a very frequent basis, because that's where most of the work is sort of getting done, and trying to understand and identify the right solution. And our Swampscott and Lynn working towards the same complementary solutions. Yeah, I mean, that's why we're trying to do this together. It's looking to bring all the stakeholders together and identify the right course of action. Like I said, it's different. It's a different illicit discharge detection and elimination process. But the complementary solution will only work if it's one complementary solution for both communities. The status of the ultraviolet treatment. So that we've gotten some initial sampling results from this spring, and they've been really positive. So while the peracetic acid did not look promising, the UV did look promising. There's still more samples they need to get. And it's a challenge because the lab is only open certain times of the week. And so there's only certain days that they can take the tests, and they need to get tests with different types of weather, because there's different runoff issues in dry weather versus wet weather, and they need to figure out how much wet weather the system could handle if there was a system. And so they're looking for like, 0.5 inches of precipitation and then 0.75 inches. So like, it's going to take some time for them to get the samples they need. But we're trying to figure it out as soon as possible and trying to keep everybody, all the scientists and engineers updated in as close to real time as we can, so that we can get to the solution as quickly as possible.
Mayor, there's questions about commissions and boards and affordable units. Maybe you can address that briefly as well.
Yeah, the commissions and boards, are you working to fill? Yeah, so there are dozens of boards and commissions in the city, and we've tried to really open that process up by posting them and looking for folks that are interested in positions that also have a particular skill set. And so what we typically do is we post several at a time that are looking for folks based on where the most need is. So started out being mostly a quorum issue, like what boards and commissions are struggling to hit quorum, and then trying to work their way through. They're typically 3-year appointments, so there's always something that's open. I think it looks like 𝐂𝐨𝐦𝐦𝐿 maybe posted the full list there, but I think we're still looking for zoning board of appeal appointments right now, if anyone's interested in the ZBA, or if that's not on now, it's going to be on soon, because we're going to repost it. And that's just an example of one of the dozens of boards that exist. And Council, you said Affordable Housing Trust Fund. That Tanvir's question.
Correct.
How much funding was allocated Affordable Housing Trust Fund? How much is left, and how many deeply affordable units will be constructed from the grants made by that trust? So there was $3 million allocated to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund of American Rescue Plan Act funds. That money has all been allocated, and that is over, I think it's 4 different projects, and there's also starting to be proceeds from the inclusionary zoning ordinance. So also in our first year working with the council, we implemented a zoning amendment that requires a certain percentage of units in new construction to be set aside as affordable for Lynn residents. You can't have half a unit though. So if you have it's 10% of whatever you build. So if you're building 11 units, 1 unit has to be affordable, but then you have this 0.1 left over. What do you do with the 0.1? Well, the ordinance says you make a contribution representing the value of 0.1 of a unit into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So it's not a huge amount of money, because we prioritize on-site units. You could have said you could either build a unit or make a contribution representing the value of the unit. And we said we'd rather have the actual units for folks to live in. But we still had to deal with this fractional issue. And so there is some funds coming into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund through that it hasn't been allocated. The income levels, I don't have them all sort of off the top of my head, but the projects, the preservation of affordable housing, POA, which is pretty affordable. The Commonwealth Land Trust, which is a partnership with the Mass Coalition of the Homeless, which are lower affordability, as well as the Latino Support Network, which is a local community development corporation, relatively new. That one's still affordable, but probably more what you would consider to be mixed income as a project, but because it's home ownership, and typically those are at relatively, it's still affordable housing, but at a higher income levels. Generally affordable housing, the idea is that affordable housing is what people can afford to pay for housing, and so for people with lower incomes, that number is lower. Our position has been that if you really want to spur production at the lower income levels, the deeper levels of affordability, there needs to be some kind of investment, public investment, because the cost to construct those buildings is the same as it would be if it wasn't affordable. And there's going to be a smaller return because folks are paying less rent because they're deeply affordable. And so we've wanted to make those kinds of investments through the trust fund into that deeply affordable housing. And I think we have a board there that really shares that as a goal and a philosophy. We I think, put together a great group of advocates and folks with lived experience in the community to help us make those decisions. You might have seen that we are pushing to try to be able to do more there. I authored a opinion article with the mayor of Salem that ran this week in Commonwealth Magazine in support of the Haley Driscoll's administration's housing legislation that would give communities the option of implementing a transfer tax for transactions in excess of $1 million, so bigger dollar transactions on just the amount over $1 million, as a way to fund some of these more deeper affordable housing units. And I serve on the governor's housing advisory council, and so this is certainly a topic that we're trying to point out, is that we want to create these more deeply affordable units. But in order to do that, there has to be funding for it.
Mayor, it's 8:31. We would like to say thank you for your time. I know you've been busy since early morning. You left the house very early and you're still working. So we would like to say thank you. If you have any questions, follow-up questions, I pasted the link to his office. You can reach out to him directly. On behalf of my team, I would like to say thank you. Enjoy your evening, everyone. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.